Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Indie Corner Radio. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got my awesome guest here. We just talking about it before the show. We haven't talked to each other for like 7 years on our shows, I don't think, on the show, but I had him. I used to have him for my guest as on Blog Talk Radio when I did Independent Corner. So this is the new Indie Corner Radio because Independent Corner got stolen by some people, by the way, and I had to change it to Indie Corner Radio. Yeah, I was pretty pissed off. But please welcome Adam Steigert. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me as always. It's a pleasure to speak with you. Again, we haven't spoken for so many years, man. It's been an interesting career since we've spoken last, you know?
Yeah, you're like, oh, video chat. I was like, wait, we didn't do video chat back then. It was Blog Talk Radio, and that was all through the phone. You know, you'd have to call up a number and all this other
Morgan
BS
was on that, right? Morgan?
Yeah. I actually got to meet Morgan and hang out with her. She came when I was in LA. She became my LA homie. That would come in. We would go to the coffee shop there in Burbank and just write, together and stuff like that. It was so neat.
What is she doing? Is she still working in the arts, or
I think she's left California and went back home for a little bit, but I think she still has her California agent, and I think she's still if she gets a gig out there, she'll go. But right now she's been concentrating on local stuff in Texas, I think. So I'm not sure. Yeah, that's so funny. I adore her. I miss, having her as my co-host. Honestly, I keep trying to get her back in, but she just like, she did it for so long and she's just like, I'm done.
Well, you get burned out. You know what it is. You got to have a love for this nonstop and live.
Yeah, and she got busy and she was in California at the time. Maybe now that she's not, maybe I can convince her to do some stuff with me, but I don't really want to bother her. I message her every now and then to check up on her and see she's doing good. And it's been
well, if you do, again, just give her a little reminder of that time we all talked together. Adam was talking to me on the podcast about you.
Yeah, definitely will. I bet she'll remember that because she remembers a lot more than I remember. I don't remember shit. I'm getting old, man.
Yeah. Well, we're about the same in age, aren't we? I'm 36 at this time.
Oh no, I'm 41, so a little older.
A little older, sure.
5 years older. That's
wow,
that was math. I did math. Oh.
Well, it's an easy number. It's an easy
number. Thank you. Thank you for making me who I felt right then and there that I was doing good. And you're like, no, it was easy. Well, bring me down to earth. Thank you, Adam.
Sorry about that, my friend.
No, it's okay. Adam, so we're gonna go into some more stuff, like, because I think back then I wasn't as I don't know. I would love to say that I've matured as as an interviewer, but back when I'm listening to, I have a bunch of throwback Thursdays that I do, and I listen to some of those and I'm like, oh, cringy. And I'm like, really? I asked that question, or I did that and stuff. So I'm hoping that maybe now I've learned a little bit more. But my big question now is, you never really ever got into your childhood and stuff. Were you sort of always like this gung-ho filmmaker guy, or did that sort of become something that you ended up doing?
That's a good question. I actually don't think I've ever even really talked about it too much publicly. As a kid, I was always wanting to be an entertainer. I always wanted to entertain any fashion I could. And ever since I was a kid, you would go back and ask my grandparents, because I was raised by my grandparents, what did he want to be when he was a kid? And it was always film something, director, producer. He wants to make a movie. I didn't have the best upbringing when I was very young. And then I had a little bit of a situation as I got older with my parents. So a lot of that art became a way of venting my frustrations and venting or expressing myself. So that is really how I developed into that career. But I was inspired by like people like my grandparents, people like George Romero, you know, people like teachers, just regular old teachers that had taught me in the arts throughout the years. Mary Finnerty is one of those individuals I would really like to give a shout out to. But anyways, my childhood was tough. I had a lot of tough things that happened when I was a kid, and that helped me create and be the artist I am today.
Oh, so you said George Romero. I want to get back to that. Was it
Yeah,
like the Dawn trilogy, the Dead trilogy of Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead?
it was. Excuse me. There when I was a kid, we would have TNT Monster Vision. You probably remember that, right?
Hmm.
Monster Vision or Horror Nights or whatever they were. And basically, the when I was a kid, the first horror movie I ever saw was Return of the Living Dead.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
the kind of spoofy one, right? So I thought that was part two. So I'm like, forever in my young childhood, I was always like, well, where is part one? What is the first film? Because this says Return of the Living Dead. There had to be something before it, right? So I ended up coming across Night of the Living Dead. And as you may know, Night of the Living Dead has a very different tone than
It's
Return of
not
the Living Dead.
comic-y. It's not funny.
No, no. So I watched a few minutes of that movie. It was in black and white. It scared the shit out of me. So my grandfather had to watch it with me just until it was done so I could actually say I saw it. After that, I found out there were sequels to it. And I was excited about it. And so then yeah, I started looking into his Dead series, and Dawn of the Dead was next up to bat. And I just loved that story. I loved the art behind it, the cinematography, the story structure, the epic scale made on such a condensed budget in a sense of like Hollywood mainstream film at the time. I just I he's an icon to me, an idol. One of my highest achievements, and this could be a silly achievement, if you will, was having my name linked to George Romero on an IMDb press post once. That was just a lot of fun because I'm like, I really have made it where my name is hyperlinked in blue that has George Romero's name on it. Oh my God, it was a thing. But
What
anyways,
was it for? What was it for?
uh I want to say it might have been either Ombus, Alien Invasion, or A Grim Becoming. I want to
Ah,
say I think it was A Grim Becoming is what I
yeah,
want.
I would imagine that would be. But what was the link?
Oh man, it's been so long. It was just it basically referenced his name in the press release
Oh,
and about my inspiration and all this about George Romero, and that's all I can really remember from the article, which is probably bad that I only remember that part. But just to be tagged in his name, actually in my office behind me, I actually have a check from George Romero from Dawn of the Dead. It's signed and everything from George Romero. Obviously, it's authentic and had to get appraised and all that nonsense. But yeah, he actually have his signature right there, right behind this here green screen, right in the back of the room.
nice, nice. So yeah, so did you check out are you one of those people that loves to go to like all the sites and stuff? Did you go see like the mall that Dawn of the Dead,
I did
is in?
3 times. I saw the Dawn of Dead Mall. Each time the area got smaller and smaller for George Romero's like shrine that was there. And have you ever been there to the Monrovia Mall?
I have no, here's the funny thing. I went when I was with a bunch of friends and we were like sort of all hungover from going to a horror convention and
Hmm.
stuff. And so I don't think I was completely 100% like there. I wasn't driving or anything, but I was like not, I was kind of a little sick, but I was but there my friends were like, "Hey, we're in Pittsburgh. We're right by the Monroeville Mall, Let's go and check it out." And I'd seen Dawn of the Dead, but I wasn't a huge, not a big zombie fan,
Yeah.
but I uh you have to go see the mall. So we went there. I wish we it's back in the day when I was never taking pictures or doing anything like that. I do that now more, and
Yeah.
uh, and so I'm kind of bummed out about that. But maybe I'll
You know what's
still
funny
there,
about
still
that though?
around.
You know
Mhm.
what's funny about that? My grandmother, when I was in high school, because I was raised by them, she said to me, "Marry a girl that loves the same movie that you do." And I said, "Okay." And I have my wife, Kristen, who actually has a big tattoo of Flyboy on her arm. And that was done before our time together. So it's kind of interesting because like she's basically embroidered or a logo to the George Romero film
So that
that
was
I
it,
was
right? You saw that, and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna follow
yep,
my grandma's,
this is the woman.
follow my grandma's orders. Did you ever tell her that? I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She's heard that story probably so many times. She probably hear it now watching this and roll her eyes.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, that's sweet. I love that kind of stuff, and so you got inspired by, all these great people. You went off to make movies, or
Mhm.
whatever. Um, what was like? Did you start with short films?
No, I went right into it.
Ah, of course.
I went right into it feet first. I mean, they weren't great films, of course, uh, but yeah, I went right into just making as big a film as I could right off the get go, and that hurt for a couple of years, but we made what we did. We did what we could, I guess you could say.
Well, exactly. That's all you can do, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a good learning experience. I have other friends who have talked about, that they went into making a feature film before starting off on shorts, and they're like, man, I really should have started off on shorts. But, they finished their
Well,
films,
the
and
the way that I looked at it is shorts, in my opinion, this is my view just from being in this business as long as I have, they they don't generate the money that a feature will.
right.
Okay. So I always was underneath the impression don't do fan films, don't do feature film, or excuse me, don't do short films. Pardon me for saying it like that. Always stick to the full film hour and a half, at least go for that. And over the years, my films actually have gotten smaller than an hour and a half. They've gotten to an hour and 20, hour and 15. And then, one of the last ones I just did was a web series called the Grim mini series, Final Fracture. And that series, man, it was altogether, once we released it as one film, it was 44 minutes or 46 minutes, I should say, from title credit to the end. So, I mean, now they got ads. They fill up those spaces with all those ads, those 15 minutes of ads.
So it becomes like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Or at least makes the hour accrual, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Which maybe that's why they do it. Because I was wondering always why Tubi lets you have shorts. Like I'm like
Yeah.
that. It seems very YouTubey. Like not what I imagined Tubi to be. But I
But
guess
here's the thing that excuse me, here's the thing I've seen these days. Everybody is all about short little bits underneath a minute. You know what I mean? They want it edited down to underneath a minute because they just want to keep scrolling and seeing what's out. That's why film right now is not doing super great, is because all this social media technology that we have at our fingertips by our phones, it is just making feature films not as exciting as they once were. Plus all the drama that we've spoken about with Marvel and DC off camera. I mean, all that stuff has hurt the industry in big ways in the entertainment industry.
I kind of agree with that. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and we are talking about Marvel, and I kind of just mentioned, I mean, this is a sad thing to say, but I think movies are dying,
Yes.
and that to me sort of, because I know like Marvel said, oh, we got the next 10 years. DC says we got the next 10 years mapped out. And I'm like, dude, I don't think you have 10 years, man.
No.
Like, if you guys don't, if there's not some kind of resurgence, and that's why like Marvel is like struggling right now to like, oh, we gotta push things back, and all this other crap. And I'm like, dude, um what you need to do is you need to go back to what you were doing, which is like maybe two movies a year, if that, and stuff, so that people aren't getting fatigued and getting tired of all
Well,
this.
you know what it is? I don't know if people are so much fatigued. I do think there may be superhero fatigue setting in, but I think what it is between the public policies and public outbursts from the companies, I think that has hurt them like pretty bad. I think like Warner Brothers especially, Disney is experiencing it, but you can't continuously put out subpar films or subpar TV shows or incomplete projects, because the moment you start doing that, as we're seeing right now, the interest level starts coming out. Because what was it? They put out like 10 or 14 films and with including the TV series in like the last 2 or 3 years, and
Mm-hmm.
most of them are not praised. I'll say that most of them are not praised. Um, so I mean, what my favorite films of Phase Four may be different than of what yours are of Phase Four.
Well, let me
But
know. Let me know. What are your favorite? I want to know that stuff.
right, yeah, well, currently Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is up there. Surprisingly, I was actually surprised how well I liked that film. But Loki was really good.
Loki was
Uh,
good.
I did not care for Thor as much as I was hoping for.
I was kind of bummed out by Thor. The beginning was great and epic, man. I was like, why did the Guardians have to leave, man? Because
Yeah,
them working with Thor was fun and I enjoyed that. But then once they left, it was sort of like, okay, now
like they
what do we?
edited it, they cut it down so dramatically. Like they really cut down the role of the Guardians in that film. Like they should have used that more to their advantage
Hmm?
than some of the other things. I don't like how that movie ended either with is it who is that at the end? The kid, Eternity is I think what her name is supposed to be or something like that.
Yeah, and no, you're talking about Love?
Oh, Love. Is that who it is? Yes, Love.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so I mean, here's just an example of that. I mean, that doesn't interest me. I understand you're building the future, but at the same time, give me a story interesting enough so that I want to keep following the future of these characters.
yeah. Well, you don't have a future if you bomb.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what people don't realize and think about is the fact that, you can say, oh, I'm going to set this like the Eternals. The Eternals bombed like
Yeah.
badly. And they were like, oh, we have all these plans for the Eternals. And I'm like, well, you know what? You're not gonna, like nobody's gonna care about your
Yeah.
plans because, and I like people keep saying, oh, the Eternals are gonna come back. I'm like, I really hope not. But if
Or
they
if
do,
they come back, let them be split up in different films, scattered throughout
that's what
whatever.
I was thinking. I was thinking like we never
Don't do
got
a feature on
introduced to
that.
these people. And
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, you never got introduced to Guardians of the Galaxy." I'm like, "The Guardians, but the Eternals wasn't written by James Gunn, who did a great job with the like that was the best thing James Gunn's ever done was the
Yeah.
Guardians of the
The
Galaxy
first
movie."
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like the second one too, but
Oh, I
not
like the
as
second one too. I'm excited about the third one.
yeah, like I'm
Not
saying
happy
like the
about his
whole
DC, but I'm happy about the third film.
I
Yes,
didn't mind the Suicide Squad.
that was all right.
I thought I was surprised how much I cared about a little CGI whatever guy, little guy, that little
The
weird
rat guy
the rat guy that
or
got
mole
killed and
man,
then but he
something.
turns out to be all right at the end.
Yeah,
Which
spoiler.
I spoiler. Well, I mean, if they haven't seen it by now, Suicide Squad, then I don't know what you're.
But we can't forget Spider-Man: No Way Home. Man, that was a great film.
It was.
I I think maybe Sony will say differently, but I think the marketing and I think the fact that a lot of these companies right now are not transparent on their stories and relying too much on leaks, but now they're trying to sanitize people that are leaking information, or censoring people that are trying to leak information. I think they're hurting themselves by doing all that.
I
Um,
think they should have leaned into the fact that they were going to have, instead of making a big surprise reveal, which
Everybody
all of a
knew.
sudden out of nowhere, everybody already knew. They should have had a trailer that showed all three Spider-Men together,
Yes.
like before the movie, because they did it after the movie. But
Well,
then,
the other, I don't mean to cut you off there. Sorry, go ahead. Finish what you were
no, it's
trying to
just
say. I'm
that's
sorry.
all I was saying.
Oh, I'm my bad, man. I didn't like because I bought the DVD or the Blu-ray rather.
Hmm.
I didn't like the fact that they advertised it with all this deleted scenes and then didn't put them on the Blu-ray
I
and then
heard about that.
re-release the film. Re-release the film for us to pay again to see that. I didn't pay for that. I didn't like that. I thought that was bad, distasteful, just like what they did after home no after Homecoming. No, not Homecoming. What was the second one? No Way Home?
Far From Home.
Far From Home. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever, man. Those titles are not the best titles.
My dad's favorite one, just because he's going to Sicily or going to
Venice?
Venice, where
Yeah.
it all. So he just likes to see it for all the Venice places and stuff. I liked it. I thought the second one was good. The first one was okay.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. I honestly did not care for Michael Keaton and that stuff. Like I thought he was okay, but he wasn't. Um,
You know,
he
John Leguizamo, is that how you say his name? He was
like
supposed to
Wazamo.
play. Yeah, Leguizamo, he was supposed to play the Vulture. Do you know that?
I did not, but
And and then Michael Keaton was originally offered it. He passed on it, and then they had basically signed from what John Leguizamo says. Like, oh, geez, man, what John says,
right.
he says they had contracts signed, and then they had come to him because Michael Keaton came back to them asking if he could get the role back, and he said, "Oh, okay," and then they said that they would give him something else in the Marvel series, and I guess that never
That
transpired.
hasn't
Or
happened yet, but I'm
yeah,
sure.
he gave him a small or offered him something small, and he's like, "No, you were going to give me this lead role, and now you're going to take that from like." So
Yeah, that's kind of messed up. But
yeah,
that's
show business.
Hollywood. I don't even know why they went crazy about having. I mean, I guess the idea is he plays a vulture and then he also plays Batman. So it's Bat and Vulture. I don't know, but like honestly, like I didn't like that movie. There was way too much Tony in that movie and not enough Spider-Man. I felt like it wasn't didn't feel it felt like they weren't sure if this was going to take off, so they kind of just were like, let's throw in all this other shit. So
Right, right.
I don't know. I'm very particular about that shit.
Hey, you know
So
what? We all like what we like. You know what I mean?
I like
Uh,
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, though I liked Everything Everywhere All at Once better, and
yeah,
I felt like uh Everything Everywhere All at Once got the multiverse stuff right. Like I felt like that was more Multiverse of Madness than Doctor Strange was
then Doctor
because
Strange. Yeah,
yeah, because like they went to more universes. Like
yeah,
in Doctor Strange, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Doctor Strange, he's like, he's going through all the different things quickly. You
yeah.
see all these different things real quick, and they show it in the fucking trailer. So it's
Right,
almost like none of that really matters.
right.
So then you see that, and then he falls down into one area, and then he goes to maybe one other one, and that's
Hmm.
it. You only get two multiverses
The
in the
highlight
movie.
definitely was the Illuminati, of course. That was
Right. And
to
and
me
that
that
was
was the exciting part.
it was. And I think if they got and this is gonna sound terrible because this is pretty much the whole movie, but if they got rid of all of um Wanda's stuff, mainly concentrated on him just going into a crazy multiverse and having to deal with the Illuminati, I think
Hmm.
that would have been a better movie because I didn't care, like I think I love Elizabeth Olsen, but I'm like, you know, like her kids weren't real, so like it was almost just I just didn't care.
Well,
I
there
was
was just too many holes, just like the entire Phase 4. There's just too many holes with no answers and no
well,
structure.
now I want to hear what your thoughts are on geez, we're talking about more of other people's work than yours. Sorry about
Yes,
that.
well, we can
We'll
switch
come
gears
back to
here.
your work in a second.
Yeah, just
But
forget about me for now.
yeah, let's talk real quick though. I do want to
Yeah,
know what your thoughts are on like because now that Bob Iger has come back to
yeah,
take over, I've
yeah.
heard there's a lot of changes being done. And some are amazing changes, and some
Yes.
are, I mean, people are still afraid, like, because they're saying a lot of the woke stuff that's happening with Marvel was from Bob Iger, not Bob Chapek, but he just fired like probably one of the wokest people there, Victoria Alonso. So
For Marvel, yeah.
yeah, from
Yeah.
Marvel. So I'm wondering if he's really like now just let's cut down. and make this a real,
I think what Chapek did, I was not a Chapek fan. Okay.
mm.
I think what Chapek did is he really hurt the Disney brand. There are quite a few films that they released, and Pinocchio is a good example of it. I didn't even watch that entire thing. It got bashed so bad, and it has Tom Hanks. How can you make a film like terrible with Tom Hanks?
And why would Tom Hanks do a terrible movie? I know money,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah,
Jesus,
yeah. But then now they're talking about doing a Toy Story 5. It's because they're running out of ideas. They're not using originality. And Chapek was all a money's guy, where, Iger, he is more like a creative guy, and then the money comes as like the benefit of the creativity. There's no creativity happening. If you don't have creativity, or Imagineers was what they refer them as, you don't have like originality. You have continued regurgitated garbage is what you have. Now that the Marvel executive you're referring to, she was in charge of like the digital stuff. One of the big
Hmm.
things about Phase 4 everybody hates is the digital stuff is not up to par. She-Hulk's one of them. I mean, you could probably pick any of the films and say that there's a digital issue that you're just not happy about. How about that the head of that kid in Thor? Remember they went back and they actually touched it up, I think, for that floating head. I can't remember whose son it was. He died in not Ragnarok. He died in Infinity War, right? He died in the beginning. Her
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Iris Elba's character.
Yeah.
Yeah. His son, I think, is Hermione. That maybe not be right. I may be thinking Harry Potter there. Anyways, you probably know who I am talking about by now. I thought that was poor. You should not release a film if it is unfinished just because you have deadlines. Push those goddamn deadlines back. Otherwise, it tarnishes your brand. You can see it's happening now.
I feel the same way even in indie world. People think if you don't release something quickly, you're and I get really frustrated because there is a indie filmmaker who can make a movie, shoot a movie in a week or less, and then
Mm-hmm.
he puts out a billion of them a year, and then he goes and that's his claim to fame, right? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make these and everything, and then that's what people expect now.
Yeah,
Oh, we expect somebody to go make that, but when you're making that, what you're doing is you're sacrificing quality for quantity. You're like, I
absolutely.
can make I can make 20 terrible movies instead of making just one good movie and
Right.
stuff. And that's what Marvel was doing.
Yeah,
Marvel was basically sacrificing quality for quantity. And that was Bob Chapek's fault because now, granted, he may not be my favorite, but he was forced with the like daunting task at that
yeah,
time
yeah.
of making content for Disney Plus. And
Right.
I'm like, I hate to say it. I mean, you don't always need new content. They've got so much stuff in the Disney Vault. Put them on Disney Plus. Say we're gonna be making these things. I'm still waiting for the 3 Men and a Baby TV series they promised us in 2020 that
Well,
never
thankfully they
happened.
just canceled Willow. I don't know if you're a fan of Willow. They've canceled
Yeah, I
that.
heard it. I heard it was very woke and very not something I'd be interested. But also, once again,
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy, I believe, had her hand in that, and
I think she needs to go, to be
she
completely honest
needs
with
to
you.
go. And
Yeah.
I was telling somebody the other day, I think she has something on them. I think she has something on Disney because there was a time where they were about to let her go, you
Hmm.
know, and all of a sudden, uh, like I mean, they weren't going to let her go, but she had her contract was for a renewal, and I'm
Yeah.
like, this is the perfect chance to be like, oh yes,
Recent. That
yeah,
was like within the last 2 years
I
too.
know, right?
Yeah.
That was like perfect time for them to go. Okay, well, you've done a great enough, great enough, but I think we're going to try to find, somebody to fill your shoes. John Favreau, like give him that position because he's killing it with the Mandal. Well, he was. I've heard new
Yeah. I couldn't.
Mandalorian
I
episodes are
haven't
not
been
that
able to
great.
stomach season 3 thus far. at the
Yeah, I've
time of
heard
recording
that.
this.
Is
I
haven't
just
seen it
couldn't.
yet, and I'm kind of sad about that.
Me too. Me
I
too.
think once again there's gonna be another like bye biker. Let's get this in check because I mean when it becomes like one of the lowest rated uh Star Wars stuff, you know what I mean? Like that's bad for Mando. I
Yeah.
mean, considering Mando first two seasons amazing, and then his arc in Book of
Boba
Boba
Fett.
Fett was like
Yeah.
amazing, and
Yeah.
now I've heard the third season I guess they just well I mean I don't know
I
I
watched the
haven't
first episode, and after I watched the first episode, I said I don't think I'm going to be rushing to see the second. So
yeah so
whatever that tells you.
yeah that's pretty bad, but I mean that's so I mean honestly Disney is doing what Disney does. Warner Brothers, we were talking about it before the show, because you were saying you're not a fan of what they're doing,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, that's because of Discovery, not that's like all Discovery coming in and needing to change things up, which I get it, like money and some of the
Yeah.
stuff that they're doing, like fixing some of the things that like Warner Brothers with like the Conjuring series and the Conjuring stuff,
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh
Keep
yeah.
keep doing that. What you're doing
Third
with
one
that.
lacked a little bit, but that was because of probably the pandemic at the time.
I think so too. And
Yeah.
I think it wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't my least. I still don't like the Nun or Curse of La Llorona that much. I think they're
Oh, I can't
okay,
stomach
but
Curse of
yeah.
Lona. I have not fully watched that entire film through either.
I had to for a doing reviews and stuff, and uh it's okay. Like it's it just doesn't feel like it's in the same universe. Like they shoehorn, oh, I was the priest who dealt with a doll, kind of thing and stuff. And they even have a deleted scene where they mention the Warrens, but they don't they don't have it in the movie. And I'm like,
It doesn't
even with
feel right.
that,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because like it just doesn't even feel like it's in the same
Well,
like
that's why I didn't go
universe.
and see it in the theaters, is because I originally thought it was part of that Conjuring universe, and I like that universe. They have goods and bads, but I like overall the story arc. But I didn't know that was there, so I didn't end up going to see it. So I ended up watching it at home, like I think on Netflix or some other type of streaming service. And I said, or at least the first opening to the car where you saw in all the trailers with the girl trying to get into the car, the ghost girl or whatever. But after that, I really did not go much further. That was after the car accident scene, I think underneath the bridge, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where that is in the film, but yeah, that was the last scene I
I
remember
think that's in
seeing.
the beginning almost. So
Well, there you
you're
go.
yeah, it it wasn't the greatest, but it was okay. Like
You
whatever.
know,
It was better than some of the DC shit that's coming out. So like I can't,
yeah,
like I'd rather watch that. And I'm into horror and I'm into comic books, movies and
yeah,
stuff. And
yeah.
so I mean, it is what it is. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, I'm just thinking, I started my filmmaking career right kind of when Marvel started making their filmmaking career. And one of my first films, I said, what would be cool, seeing what the MCU was doing at the time with Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk. I said, I should try and do that. I should try and make a shared universe of films. So that
Right,
has been,
transmedia there.
yeah. So since then, all my films in one form or another connect to the previous one. But you don't have to see that one previous to see the one that we're currently on. But if you have,
Right.
you get those little extra nods and tidbits in there and story arcs. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy because we're talking about Marvel. I'm just thinking to myself, I kind of started right when they kind of started.
So
Uh,
do you have your own Avengers, do you think? Like have you
yes,
put them all together?
I have. Horrific Evil Monsters.
Yep.
The Horrific Evil Monsters.
So tell us about that. Like what
Well,
so was that really like did you think, oh man, this is my Avengers when you were
I
making
did.
it?
I did. I wanted all the colors to be like very vibrant. I wanted it to feel like very comic booky. But yeah, I had been setting the seeds for, or sowing the seeds, I should say, for quite some time. And it's interesting because originally, when we were talking about doing the horrific Eel monsters, uh, we were originally going to have some of the characters from previous films return as like the ensemble. The problem is, over the years, between egos and different production companies coming in to make these films, a lot of people became disconnected with one another. So when we went to make the Horrific Evil Monsters, I looked at that and I'm like, how do I now bring these characters back together, even though none of these actors want to return for these roles? So I had to basically recraft the story within it to make it all fit in a very cohesive and respectful manner to what had come before.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point because sometimes we don't think about it, but like, time, you know, after a while, some people tend to not like other people or whatever. We live in a terrible time right now, I feel like, where people just like hate on somebody and then somebody goes, well, I don't like that person either, even though I don't know them. I'm gonna
Yeah,
block them, preemptively block. And I'm not gonna lie, I've done that to myself. And I
yeah.
feel now that I'm like calling myself out on it, I'm kind of noticing that, like if somebody says, "Oh, I don't like that person," my thoughts shouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, I'm down to not like them." It should be the exact
Your own feel
opposite.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah, it should be
you should
like,
put your own interpretation to it or
who
view.
knows? I mean, somebody you may not like, I may like for completely different reasons and whatnot. I mean, if
Yeah,
they screwed you over badly, I mean, I may be aware that not
of
to
that
trust them
situation.
as
Yeah,
much. Yeah, not
yeah, yeah.
trust them as much, but I try not to tell too many people not to like somebody. I
Oh
just
yeah,
sometimes, of course, if you don't like somebody, you're gonna let them know. Like, okay, well, you know, I've done that before too. Like a friend of mine was dating somebody I didn't like, and I let her know,
you
and then
voiced your opinion on that.
yep, and then she deleted me, and
Oh,
now we're friends again.
well, that's
So
good.
because she realized how much of a jerk he is, and stuff like I was right. Gee, go
There you
figure.
go. Now your redemption.
I'm never right. So when I'm right, like
You got to
I,
take those.
I know I'll take that for a win. I'll buy that for $1.
Buy that for $1.
Yeah,
Now that is one reboot I would like to see because Peter Weller, or Peter Walker,
Peter Weller.
Weller, right? I would love to see a reboot of RoboCop with him returning, but he's getting old too.
Yeah, I don't think he would return unless he played someone different. Like if he played like the boss,
Mm.
or something, I'd be down with that. But I would want a younger. Um, that seems to be the thing. Like, James Gunn's getting a lot of crap for his young Superman shit, and I'm like, nobody wants to see, a 50-year-old man already play somebody for 20 more years, and people are like, well, why is he gonna play some? Like, dude, are you kidding me? They're gonna be there for 20 years. Like
Yeah,
that's the standard now is, and so you don't want somebody
but
old,
there
you know.
again, though, that is a problem because they're not bringing any new people into these movies. They're bringing returning, repeating people with their families. And if it's the people like you and I who are the diehard fans of these types of genres, stop going to them, stop bringing our children, stop bringing, people doing those events and stuff. It hurts their brand. And I think they need to start really thinking about it that the adults in the room, in this case, talking about DC, all seem to generally want Henry Cavill. There was a way,
Mm.
in my opinion, there is a way to have done this in a very tactful way in the multiverse. I don't think you needed to just say, we're done with Henry Cavill, the story's done, the whole Snyder stuff is done. I think there could have been a happy medium with that, with Snyder fans and the DC brand, at least to bring them into the multiverse saga. And then when they're in the saga and you finish the Henry Cavill stuff, then you go over to this other universe and you start getting these new characters as like the beginning stones of a reboot, as you will, of these same characters you already grown to love. but now I've been totally recasted, and we had done justice to the characters we had brought before. And that's why I think the multiverse is such a great thing for Marvel, is because it will allow those characters to continue on indefinitely if they're done properly. Because there's more than enough stories, right?
Hmm.
And there's more than enough universes. Hey, after Secret Wars, maybe they just do a full reboot of the entire franchise. Who knows? And they go to a different universe, maybe they go to a completely different universe and tell a
Yeah, it's
story.
not what 616 or whatever. What was
Yeah,
the what
the
is
one
that?
we're in currently is 616, but like they were just in, what was it, multiverse. I don't know what it was, multiverse anymore. See, that's how much these films are just kind of rolling off me. I could tell you stuff about Infinity War, Endgame, the
She's
films that have
probably
come
seen
before.
those a lot more.
Yeah, of course I
Um,
have,
you
because
know,
they're entertaining.
yeah, I know, I agree because that's why I got in. See, I didn't get into Marvel and DC, and this is going to give me a lot of trouble. But I mean, obviously, as a kid, I grew up like loving Wolverine and the X-Men and other stuff like that. But like, I didn't get into like the MCU till 2020. Till
Woo!
basically the whole world kind of like,
Wow.
you know, because I was like, I wanted Disney Plus, not for all that, not for Star Wars. I wanted it for some of the old school movies that
Yeah.
Disney had. And then I got hooked into the world of Marvel and I was like, wait. So I started watching from like Iron Man and going
Woo!
like, up and
Yeah.
it was new to me. And then it became even bigger and bigger. And then I started doing a lot more research
Yeah.
and everything like that. So I'm not like the guys that have been there since like the beginning. They've been doing all those videos since, like you, but like there's these guys that do these videos, and I love them, but I don't know as much as they do, like about like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what, and so I was watching one of the channels is Cosmic Circus or Cosmic
Yep.
what?
Cosmic Circus,
No, there's
Cosmic
Cosmic
Wonder,
Culture. Cosmic
Cosmic
Culture.
Culture. Sure. I know them too.
God, so many cosmics are they?
Yeah.
Like, do they all like? I don't know. Whatever.
Well, when the name
Uh,
sticks, you got to go with what's good.
all right, and it's not like they're ripping each other off or anything, you
Yeah.
know. But so, I was listening to him talk today. I don't know if you saw his newest video, but he was talking about and spoiler alert if you haven't, but he was talking about the basically what's going to happen with the Marvel universe now, with all the phase 5 and the fact that just this year alone we're going to have 7 projects, 3 movies and 4 shows,
I think you're
no,
going to see a
six,
delay on
six,
that.
six. So three and three, I think,
I think they're going to
and
push it back. I
seven.
think they're going to
What's
push it
that?
back.
Because no, he said these are all that's still announced that
Are coming
was
this year,
yeah.
2023.
So he said obviously we already had Ant-Man. Then we've got Guardians of the Galaxy in May.
Yeah.
June we have what's that
The
one?
Marvels.
No, no, June's
That's
not.
in
That's
November.
that's in November.
Yeah.
June we have Secret Invasion. In August we have X-Men 97, which is weird that they're doing it now, but I'm
Hmm.
guessing that might tie into. I think they're doing what DC has announced that they're doing, which is they're doing their shows and they're kind of tying them into the live action stuff. So Deadpool's coming around next year, so maybe they want to get X-Men, out there, whatever. So X-Men 97, like I think August or September or something like that. And uh then Loki is pushed for the fall, and
Hmm.
then Marvels, and then there was one more project that was
Is it a
coming out.
special presentation? Because
No,
they've
I know
been.
they've announced those too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't even know if he even counted those, which I don't think he did. So that's a lot. And he was saying like the people were having problems with the fact that there was so much content,
Hmm.
to keep up
Hmm.
with and stuff already. And I just kind of agree.
Yeah. You got to pick and choose now, and I'm definitely done with DC. I'll tell you that. I'm definitely done with DC.
Yeah, so you're not going to go see The Flash
I've been torn. That's the only film that I've been torn on, to be honest with you.
just to
I'm
see
for Michael
Keaton
Keaton.
as
Yes,
Batman.
because that's who I grew up on. is that
Right.
character. I got the trading cards still from the first film. So with the Joker and stuff, it's crazy. So, to me, to see Batman again, the Batman I grew up on, that's tough to pass up, which is what they're trying to do to begin with that. But and I love the director, Anthony Muschietti. He did the It
Mm,
series. I think
yeah.
he's a great director.
Well, it's
Uh,
funny that they got all these horror guys doing the Lights Out director did Shazam, and he got a lot of flack recently. Did you see that?
yeah, I did see the Shazam director. He's like, I'm done doing superhero films. You know what? It's a cop out because they're getting again. When you're a director, producers and directors are different things, right?
Right.
Producers are the people that make the project happen to an extent, and the director is like the creative eye behind the producer's money, if you will.
Right.
And a lot of people think that the director is the only one that runs a film. Technically, not. Maybe on an indie level,
Actually,
it's the
well,
producers, executive producers, studio producers. Those are the people that run these films,
things
not
used to be different.
not directors.
Used to be different. So it
Yes.
used to be that the director calls the shots. The
Yep.
director comes in, the director is hired. Steven Spielberg's hired to make Jaws. He does the best he can, even though his crew hates him because he's so young, and stuff like that. You've
Yep.
heard that story, I'm sure.
Oh
But
yeah. Yeah.
Steven
Jaws fan.
Spielberg, yeah, me too. I need to go to Martha's Vineyard sometime. Like,
I want to go too. They have a
ugh.
whole tour there.
I know. I'm so jealous
I
when I
want
hear
to
people
go.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that someday. I'm gonna go there. I gotta go back to the Kevin Smith stuff, in New Jersey, and I also want to do the Sleepy Hollow, like go on the bridge of the Sleepy Hollow, stuff like that. So
Oh
got a
yeah,
lot
that'd
of
be
shit I
cool.
want to do. I just haven't, you know,
Well,
uh,
you haven't done it yet. There's
haven't done it
still
yet.
time. Yeah.
There's still time.
You
Yeah, I'm still
you
young.
got goals. You
Oh,
got goals.
young, relatively young enough. Um, but anyway, so yeah, so they got so much going on. I completely lost my train of thought.
Visiting places.
Well, before then, I think I was talking
Sleepy
about something.
Hollow.
Before then,
Uh
we're
Marvel.
we're now just like rewinding.
Oh
Um,
God.
we're talking about Andy Machete, I guess, right?
Yes,
Like
Andy
all the
Machete, correct. It.
yeah, and all
The
the
Flash.
so you got all these horror guys. We're out there, and they get the chance, to go and make these projects and stuff, and then they they get there and this is not their wheelhouse. Their wheelhouse is making low budget horror flicks. Like
Yep.
Lights Out is great. He should work with Blumhouse. But no,
Mm-hmm.
they want him because that's what I was going to talk about, the producers. So back in the day, you would have Steven Spielberg who'd produce or direct a movie, and he would be the one in charge, and the producers would come in and make sure things were just done on time, and
Right.
everything. Nowadays, it's more like TV. See what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
the world of television is more like the world of like movies today too. And so in television, the producers are in charge,
Right.
and the directors are sort of just called in to direct a couple scenes, and they barely have any creative input and stuff.
And that brings me to a good point too, or it brings us to a good point. That's why I've started like self-producing most of the work that I've done over the last couple of years, like kind of getting away from producers in some respects, because with producers, as much as they're good, they also bring some baggage that is unnecessary, and it's unwarranted, and that also has played into one of my decisions to start to outsource material, either working with stock footage type folks, doing CGI more. You started off when we were talking about this becoming more reserved in the digital world of working on creative arts. That's kind of where I'm going too, and I'm getting to a point where I'm looking at the last series of projects that I'm going to direct. I mean, I've directed over 16 projects at the moment. I'm getting tired. And you know what? People are not amazed as they once were. When I used to make films back in the day, there was something original to it. There was something new. There was something fresh. Not everybody was making movies in that regard, locally especially. So there wasn't always a huge different choice to pick from and things of that nature, which is good and bad. But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, maybe I'm getting to a point where I'm outgrowing what is the new norm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my creative eye is not what it once was. So like I worked with Immortal Masks before on projects instead of working with in-house effects teams to create these things. Um, by the way, they're really good. That's a plug for them. But I'm just getting to a point where I'm really starting to see the politics and I just don't want to be around them no more. I just don't, and I'm talking film related politics. I just, maybe I'm still always going to be somewhere in the film industry because I mean, you just never leave. I mean, you look at you did start off with films, right? And now you're doing podcasts, you know?
Well, I mean, uh, sort of did podcasts more like, I mean, I started with short films I did for nothing, that I put on YouTube, like that just sucked, and stuff.
We've all been there.
Yeah, which sucks because I can't get back into my old account and stuff, and I kind of want to look back at those, or
You
whatever.
can't get back onto the YouTube account?
No, because like it transferred over to like Gmail, and
Yeah.
my old like Hotmail thing won't let me in, and just kidding, and I don't
Does
know
the
my old
channel still
password.
exist? Does the channel
Uh,
still exist?
it's I oh I was well I was an idiot. Well, not an idiot, but I completely put everything unlisted so
Oh,
that,
nice. Now you're really in trouble.
yeah. So yeah, so I'm done.
But just to conclude with this real quick, I like the marketing, man. I like the promotion. I like the press of it all. I like doing those things. I like the photography. I like the behind the scenes. I like sharing with people some of the experiences that I have learned over my career. And it's, I'm going on 16 years now of a career. So, again, it just goes back to the fact that I want to make stories that people want to see. Um, I don't know if you ever read comments on anything that you post in the sense of like films, right?
right.
Um, various films, each film is different and each film has different comments and stuff. And one comment has stuck out to me pretty bad. And it happened about 2 years ago. And the comment was, this director should kill himself. And I said to myself, I just stepped back that day and I said, am I really to a point where people, fans, or other people viewing my work want to just see me killed? Metaphorically, I'm assuming, but you never know with the internet. Um,
Mm,
because they didn't enjoy my work. I mean, you could turn it off. You watched it till the end,
yeah.
dude. You watched it till the end.
Or even you watch 5, 10 minutes, that doesn't mean like, like,
But there is an old saying, Jonathan. There's an old saying. Even bad press is good press.
well, that's true. But I know a filmmaker, and I'm not gonna say his name just because it's his story, not mine necessarily, but to give you a point, he made movies that apparently weren't received very well, and a lot of people sent him death threats.
Yeah.
And he has a family, he has kids, he has all this stuff. They said they were like, I think they said they were going to come to his house, things like that. And he stopped making movies for a little bit. Now has recently said he wants to get back into it and everything. And it wasn't,
The
you know,
climate is not good to even produce anything right now either. I don't know if you're somebody
and,
trying to get something produced right
and
now.
unless you do it for like nothing, like
Yes.
absolutely no
Or
money.
you do a GoFundMe because everybody seems to be wanting to
I
do
hate I hate Indiegogo now, like or GoFundMe or all that stuff. Just because, and I mean, look, I love people who support it, and I've done it before and I don't like it. Like myself, I feel really scuzzy sending people messages saying, "Hey, come donate $5 to my campaign." You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
feel like, I don't hate it when somebody does it to me because I understand, but like, I mean, when no is no, when I say I
I
can't
get
do it.
those I get those quite often my own self. And I don't produce a lot of people's projects anymore. And the reason behind why I do not produce a lot of projects is because I've gotten burned on them before.
Mm-hmm.
Either you don't get the product if you do an Indiegogo and they say, "Oh, we're going to promise you a DVD," and then you never get it, or you don't know the director well enough or the production staff well enough to see if they're actually going to complete the project in a respectable and well received manner. I don't want to be sending money to somebody that I think that there's going to be like all different types of innuendos or situations happening on set because I don't know the actor, I don't know the director. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put my name on something after trying to build a career for 16 plus years on somebody else's film just because I get a special thanks and a credit, or I produced it and people don't like it. Um, so I'm very picky about it. I get those requests. I want to say weekly. Somebody asking me to fund their film or sending me a script pitch. You know what? If I was asking for scripts, I would say, "Hey, send me a script." But I don't ask for that because I don't want that. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to produce somebody else's work. I want to produce my own work, and I want to share it with the world, what my artistic vision is. Um, so I save all my money for my stuff, and that's just the unfortunate nature. But here's something you should always keep in mind. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, okay, you're not willing to go take a small interest loan, you're not willing to go take out a credit card debt or credit card money or whatever and advance on it, you're not willing to do the hard work to go to studios to try and get this money. Using these social media platforms in like Indiegogo goes back to what you felt before. You feel a little, scummy, like you have to take a shower after because, nowadays you have Hollywood mainstream people working on Indiegogo, making their projects. And what about us? Us little guys now, we can't get funding from Indiegogo because, whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
with that being said, I have noticed quite a few social media campaigns on that platform doing very well this year, surprisingly. Not a lot of them, but there's a couple of them that are doing surprisingly well in the indie community. Um, so we'll have to see how some of those come out. But you know, if you're just not willing to invest in yourself, why should I invest in your film?
Exactly.
And that's the question.
That's a good question. And some people tell you do not invest in your own projects. I don't know why there's that thing, but there's that thing of like, do that. And I
I
mean,
can tell you why. You want me to tell you why? People
why?
won't invest in their own projects because they don't believe in them. They don't believe they're going to make the money back for as much as they're going to want to spend on it. All right.
Right.
So, typically when I make a feature film, it's in the range between $15,000 to $25,000. I have done up to $36,000. But I don't do those types of films anymore because it's just not worth that type of money to do independent film anymore like that. At least for
You,
me. I mean,
you know the producer of The Killing, there was one the third movie that Stanley Kubrick ever made. He talked in an interview and said that he put up $80,000 of his own money. Now this is back in understand this is back in 1956. So
yeah,
$80,000 then is like probably
probably over a
five hundred
million.
thousand dollars now, or
Yeah.
something.
Well, I don't
And
want to say
he,
over a million.
yeah, and
That's
he
not right.
asked his dad for 50 grand. So
Yeah.
he got like 130 grand extra to shoot. So he got like $330 to or $330,000 to shoot the movie and make it because that's what the budget was going to cost and that's what he believed in. He
Yeah.
believed in the project. He could have made it for $200,000, but he would have had to, had to cut a lot of costs and it would have looked a lot crappier, and everything. And he put his own money in. And to me, that made me smile when I saw that because or heard that because I was like, that's amazing. If that guy can go out and do that, I think more filmmakers should,
Yeah.
especially since he was even told that whoever puts that money up is going to be second to the company that the first company that put the money up and everything. And
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting. People don't really realize that, like, with stuff because people think in terms of independent film these days
Oh
completely.
yeah.
Like people don't even know like studios. used to do this. They don't do it as much anymore, but they used
I
to
I
fund
I
these
gotta
kind of
say,
smaller projects.
you are so right. You are so right when you say that the studios no longer allow directors to direct anymore because they don't. And that's one thing that I like about the studio I work with, is because I'm also directing a lot of these projects. I have a lot of say in the way that the project is morphed into reality. Now I have two business partners, Kristen Steigert, who happens to be my wife, and Christopher Burns Jr., who is been my longtime business partner for quite some time. I like to say I'm married to two Chris.
No, nice.
um, yeah, and they have both helped me, inspired me on my path to continue to create. And One thing I will say about these two individuals that I would say is different than studios is they believe in me. Studios don't really believe in their directors. They just tell them go out and shoot this. Otherwise, they would let the directors create. They're not allowing that. And
Well,
again,
I
I
mean, we can say this stuff about Scott Derrickson leaving Doctor Strange
yeah.
because he didn't have any kind of creative input into it because
How about Edgar Wright for the first one? Edgar
for
Wright was supposed to direct
oh,
that
that's
first
right.
Ant-Man,
I thought,
and he
yeah,
wrote it. He got a writing credit for that.
you got a story credit, I think. You ended up getting
Something, yeah.
story.
He
Yeah.
got something from it.
But yeah, he was supposed to do the first Ant-Man, and then he ended up then Peyton Reed. Well, I think Peyton Reed has done a great job. A lot of people talk smack about the new Ant-Man, and I was just like, it's not any
Yeah,
worse
I
and
didn't think it
any
was
better
terrible.
than whatever. Like to me, it was a popcorn, Marvel movie. Like this is exactly what I wanted to see. I wanted to see
Yeah,
Ant-Man. People are like pointless Bill Murray cameo. I'm like any cameo Bill Murray has is gonna be pointless. He doesn't even, I don't think he knows what a Marvel is. He's
yeah,
just there. He's
yeah,
like, let me just play this wacky character and then walk out.
yeah. He's
Like
there for the paycheck. That's
he's
what he
there for
is.
the paycheck. I mean, so you know, you know what? Did you ever hear about how you cast Bill Murray? You
How's
know how
that?
to
You have
do
to
that?
hunt him down. You can't do it by phone. I know that. He doesn't answer his
Uh,
phone or something.
Well, no. So
Okay.
it's a different. You
All right.
have there's a specific. Yeah. So it's okay. So he doesn't have a phone or he doesn't something with the phone, but you have to call a number and leave a message and tell him your number back and tell him who you are, what you're doing, and then he will, if he likes it, he'll talk to his agent and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if Marvel had to do that, like if Marvel had to call up, you know, or if he for some reason was like, take a take a lunch with Marvel, sure, but like he did that with that's how he got Garfield. So like
Yeah.
he originally did not want to do Garfield. Like like if they had originally pitched Garfield to him like regularly, he would have said no. But it said like Joel Cohen, and he thought he was working with the Cohen brothers on a Garfield movie.
Yeah, that's a big mistake right there.
Yeah,
That's a
so
difference in
that would be an awesome Garfield movie though. Could
Oh
you
yeah.
imagine the Cohen brothers doing a Garfield movie? I would
Oh yeah.
be all for
I'm a
that.
fan of the Coen brothers. I like
I
some of their
love them.
work.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
great.
they're good. They're
They
good.
haven't really done anything that I've not liked.
I can't point to anything that I don't like. There was one that I thought could have been a little better. I think it was the Hitchcock one. Am I thinking of the right one? I'm not sure. It had what's her name in it? Scarlett Johansson. And they were
Oh, it's sort of like a film noir type one,
yes.
right?
Yeah, and she
I
did
know
the
what you're
whole
talking
swimming
about.
bit and all that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I have it's been a long time since I've seen it. And I
Yeah.
thought it was okay. It had like Billy Bob Thornton in it, if I'm correct. Like
I think it's been a while since I've seen it. I
the
thought
main
George Clooney might have been in it too.
um
I'm gonna have to look this up after we're done
now
speaking
now
now.
I gotta find this out. Especially if it has Scarlett Johansson in it. Um,
I could probably find out here. I got
who
this.
is wonderful.
Yeah, I love Scarlett Johansson. That's another mistake that Disney made was the Scarlett Johansson bullshit.
Well, they really. Oh, Hail Caesar.
Yes,
She's in
that's it.
that.
That's it.
Yeah, it was it Hollywood Fixer in the yeah, George Clooney was in that. I was
Yeah.
thinking of the there's one that's like the man who um was the one that Billy Bob Thornton was in that I sort of there it is. The man who wasn't there. That's what I was thinking of. But Hail Caesar, yeah, I would say I saw that in the theater and I go, it's okay, but it's not doesn't feel like
It
a
wasn't my favorite.
typical
Yeah.
it didn't feel like it had the quirks that that the Coen brothers were known
Yeah.
for. So oh
Now I'm
well.
excited about Evil Dead Rise. I can tell you that. That's on my. I'm excited to see that. I thought the Evil Dead remake was one of the better remakes we've had. I would say that the Evil Dead remake and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake in the 2000s. I think it was 2000, maybe. Well, maybe it was 2000 with Jessica Biel. Those are my like two favorite type of remakes that have ever,
I like the
been out.
Friday the 13th remake. I mean, I enjoyed it, you know.
Yes and no. I mean, that for me, yes and no. I thought it played on too many stereotypical like tropes from the genre, but then they are the ones that created the genre. So
Right. So
I
that didn't
can,
bother me.
yeah,
Um,
I just think they played it too hammy.
I, you put Willa Ford in any movie, it's gonna be hammy. Like it's
Yeah,
just like she is not she's not an actress, she's a singer. She's a wonderful
yeah.
singer, just not the greatest actress. But that's, my
I know.
particular.
Let's not even get on the Nightmare on Elm Street. Let's just pass that one.
Oh, well, I wouldn't have talked about that. I try to I don't even think that
Well, I'm
like
trying to think of all the remakes out there that are like really decent. And Evil Dead has all like it stands to me. The Evil Dead remake stands to me as one of the favorites. I like the Ash versus Evil Dead. I like the Army of
I never
Darkness. All
finished
that.
the Evil Dead, and it wasn't because I didn't like it, because I was digging it. But I didn't get to finish the ending of it and stuff. So eventually I will. It's just,
Well, it's
I,
leaving Netflix. If you have Netflix, it's on its last couple weeks of Netflix.
oh, okay.
Yep.
Have to
Yep.
go check that out. I have to watch that this weekend then. Um, yeah, it's crazy. I like, well, by the time this comes out, I'll probably be gone. So sorry,
Oof.
guys. You lost your chance if you didn't see it yet. Um, But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I think the state of the film industry, because we live in a world that sort of is always evolving, it's always changing. There's always something, like if you were in 1993, right? And then you look at 2023, and completely different times,
Hmm.
and that's wonderful. Like 30 years. A lot has changed in 30 years. We still haven't figured out the flying car yet.
No, we have not. Maybe that's a
Uh,
good thing. I don't know.
I want a flying car.
I would like a
Um,
car that flies, sure, or
why
hovers at
not?
least.
Yeah, hovercraft.
Yeah.
We haven't really perfected that either, you know.
No.
But
I'd like
maybe,
electric truck. I'd like an electric truck that could go more than 400 miles without having to be charged.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Well,
maybe later in my life that'll happen.
maybe there. I mean, Musk is working. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he's getting distracted with his Twitter shit. So maybe
I actually left Twitter because of him.
a
I
lot of people
I
did.
I no longer have Twitter and I do not expect to return to it. Um
I only still do it because it's marketing stuff, you know. But I don't.
yeah.
I'm not on it as much as I used to be. And it's funny because it was like for the longest time I was not into Instagram. Still sort of
Mhm.
not like, but Instagram is where I can like that's where all the celebrities are now. It was Twitter. Now they're leaving, going to Instagram and staying
Right.
there. And so I'm like, that's where I want to see Britney Spears and her being happy with her, just would love for her to stop dancing, doing this
Oh yeah, I think every video she posts she's dancing in something.
almost, but it's like weird. Like it makes me feel scared for her, uh, but I love her. And I
Yeah.
saw like a post last night that she posted like a couple days ago or something where she was talking about just basically like because of all the shit that happened to her, now she's happy.
It's good for her.
Basically she's
It
able
took
to
her
live
a
her
while.
life. Yeah. She's able to know what she likes and what she wants to do, and she's able to do it herself. And to me, that just makes me smile. But
Yeah.
I would prefer if she did more of those posts and less of her dancing, like weird and shit. Like it's like I get it. You can post whatever you want now, but sometimes better to do less. Less is
Well,
more.
again, that's like Gunn. Gunn should not be making tweets. I can tell you that. I think he should stop that completely because
See,
it's only hurting himself and the
I
company.
know. And attacking fans in some way or another. I actually, believe it or not, so somebody from my local, sorry, this is all about you, and I'm kind of hijacking stuff. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But you'll probably get a kick out of this. There's a
Please.
guy in my local town, like that has nothing to do with the film industry, right? Sends me a screen grab and says, "You're famous." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" So I look at the screen grab, and it's a news article that's about James Gunn and talking about him getting sort of attacked by tweets, because that's all news articles are now, is
Yeah.
like celebrity gossip on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm like, who cares? Like, whatever.
And that's another reason why I left is because that whole Snyder thing rubbed me very wrong.
Hmm.
And like I did not use Twitter enough other than to search out gossip leaks regarding DC or Marvel. And I'm like, you know what? DC's burning me and Marvel's starting to lack a little bit. So I'll wait on Marvel. They're still my faves. But DC, like that's the only reason I was going on Twitter for the longest time. I'm like, this is too toxic. It's triggering and it's toxic. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm so we live in America, and right now we're living through a period of time in history where things are not as normal as they should be. And whatever that phrasing may mean to someone, to me, it just doesn't, there's too much hate between opposing viewpoints.
Hmm.
There's too much hate between, different ethnic backgrounds. I want to say ethnicities, but I can't even say the word, can't roll it off the tongue. But backgrounds, heritage, race, sex, disability, you know, um, that was always there. It was always there, but it seems like it's now the forefront. In my view, like I personally have cut out a lot of people in my life due to political climate in the United States during this time, and that is good and bad, but it has helped me mentally, but has also created a divide, between two opposing ideologies, of viewpoints, things of that nature, and only continues to further divide everything, either fan bases, culture, political views, whatever have you. You're just going to get me going on a rant with this one, but I don't see any end in it, and that's the problem. Is I don't see any end in the issue with DC. I don't see any end in the political discord in the United States. I don't see any end in people voicing their complaints on indie film, not realizing or knowing how much work it goes into those films, telling a
Uh, uh,
director to die.
yeah,
Come on.
that I would say is a little that's taking up way too much. I
Yeah,
will disagree though that people shouldn't voice their opinion on indie film, because if you any just like DC, you can
yeah.
voice your opinion on the way DC is, and people are like, "Oh, but independent films,
Well, yeah, I
they
think you're
take so much
right.
effort." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, but you know what?
you are
When at
right.
the end of
You
the
are right.
day, when a
But
movie is,
constructive.
yeah, constructive criticism,
Yes.
or what our opinions are,
Yes.
this is why I'm actually going on a deep dive, watching all these Siskel and Ebert, reviews, because
Yeah.
I'm like, can we get back to this where
Yeah.
people like have a good conversation about
About
their
the film.
opinions?
They don't attack the talent and the directors.
Well, Siskel and Ebert
Well,
actually
yes,
used to
they
do
did.
that with the
Yes.
horror
Yes,
people.
they
They'd be
definitely
like,
did.
they actually were even known. I think Siskel even said, if you don't like this, go send here's the address to Betsy Palmer and blah blah blah. Like
Okay, well, maybe
that's
I'm
a little much.
mistaking that phrasing on that
I
one.
found that out recently, and I didn't even know about that. And I found
Yeah,
out about recently, and I kind of was like, okay, that's pushing it a little bit too far because I don't I don't feel like, that definitely not Betsy Palmer's fault. She got paid $10,000 to
whew,
play that role. Right now, but she was there for 10 days.
yeah,
Which I'm like, where the fuck was she?
a
She
thousand
only
dollars a
had one
day.
scene. She
Jeez.
only has one scene where you see her. The rest you can just have some, person with hands that look like hers or something. Don't even need her.
I don't think culture needs to be censored in that regard. Let me just kind of refix what I'm saying because I do agree with what you're saying. I'm just referring to the facts of director should kill himself, this production. If you're giving constructive feedback or even feedback that is not derogatory, you
Right.
know, that is acceptable. Sending somebody to somebody's address, that to even being Sister and Igor, that's not acceptable to me.
No,
I mean, come on,
that's not
that's not
cool.
acceptable.
Um, but no, and once again, not saying anything like, look, you know me, I do Indie Film Cafe, and
Oh yeah,
we review indie films, and we
yeah,
have what's known as a stinkometer,
yeah.
which is a 1 to 10, the stinky scale.
Oh,
And
there's Rotten Tomatoes too. There's
that
things out
might
there. Yeah,
mean that the
yeah.
movie gets a stinky. Now, we like to make sure people understand that when we say a movie is stinky, we enjoy it generally.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes we don't, but we like bad movies. We like movies that we want to show our
Well,
friends,
you
and
sat through the whole thing.
we sat
You,
to
yeah.
but there's a one filmmaker who got really upset recently that I reviewed his film, and this other filmmaker who wasn't a part of that project, but might have been like with other projects of this guy was yelling at me and my buddy Paul and everybody that was attached to this review, and saying that we must have put the thing on the fast
You
forward.
took it too
We
personal.
didn't watch it. They completely missed. And then the other guy was trying to point out in a way, which he didn't verbally say it right, but he was trying to point out that I was, when my buddy would say, well, they did this, I would go, well, this is why he did this, because, and I would actually, disagree with him on some of the stuff the guy was saying. I get it. Like, and especially me, I'm a very big, I think things in my creative world, right? So when I watch a film, I'm not judging it based on like whether or not just this is a good film. I see the lights, I see the
Oh
lighting, I
yeah,
see the,
because you're a
is
filmmaker. You're a
right.
filmmaker.
And I
Yeah,
think that way. I think, is this really that good, or or does this character comes out of nowhere make any sense for the rest of the project? Because I think in
right.
writing, right? Like, what purpose is this person? Is it for comedy? Is it funny? You know, uh, and the person, I think, felt like I was a little harsh and I didn't get comedy, and I'm like, I, I'm pretty sure I get comedy. I
See,
know what's funny.
See, now I don't know if you know this, but I'm working on Ombus Alien Awakening. That's my next project.
Nice, nice. I'm
So it's
excited
a
for that.
sequel to Ombus. It's the first true sequel I've ever done. But it's like a direct sequel to the first one. I'm in talks with some of the original cast members, like Sarah Manzella to return as Lucy Greenheart and stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is I didn't want to sign on to a project like that unless it was being done right. Because
Hmm.
Ombus is one of those films that is my personal favorite to have made in my filmmaking career. Fang is another one that is up there, but Ombus is my all time favorite, and so to do a sequel, it has to be 100% right, and that is what we're working on currently. But I said I wouldn't do another one like that
Hmm.
because nowadays everything is just franchise sequel sequel sequel. The originality is starting to get further and further away. So how do you go back to a film? And this film is very much like a 28 days or 28 weeks later style film where you see what happened after the events of the first film, the destruction. And, I've gotten a lot of the CGI already produced and worked with a couple people that, work in aircraft carrier type situations. And I won't go any further with that. But
Oh,
there's
hey,
stock footage.
Victoria Alonso
Yeah.
is looking for work.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. I'll have to just give her a ring ding, or maybe you can just give her a plug in for me.
I don't know. I'm probably never gonna chat with her, but she'll probably listen to this and be like, "Oh God,
Oh
no,
Lord, yeah.
I don't want to work with them."
But
Uh,
anyways, that's my next baby, and I'm hopeful of it. But I can relate to what you're saying when you say some of these things. Um, it's all in the writing. The script for Ambus Alien Awakening is done, but we're still making sure it's better. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
We're doing all the CGI and stock footage work before the film even gets made, or excuse me, that before we principal photography gets made. So there's big chunks of storyboards in the film already, so that when you're watching you can actually watch the film via storyboards and CGI, and then you'll be able to go in there and we'll be able to look at it and say, is this the right angle for the actor? Are we missing something from this? That is the approach I'm going to with this one, and to a fun element. A lot of
Right.
digital work, but yeah, I definitely can relate. I can definitely relate.
Well, I mean, my partner for Indie Film Cafe, Paul, always says writing is free, you
Yeah,
know? Like it's the one thing you don't have to really worry about as far as, money goes. And unless you're working even in the studio, like, when you're first writing a spec script, it's free,
yeah,
or whatever. Then later, maybe they want to rechange it, they want to rewrite it, they want to do this or that, but they're paying you then,
yeah.
and everything. But still, it's like, it's not a lot of money that, as opposed to like big budget, paying the actors, paying the special
Now,
effects and doing all
can
that.
I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Have you ever screened, I should say, a film in the theater before?
Um, you mean like our own film or
Yeah,
whatever?
your own film.
No, I mean we haven't done that yet. I mean it's something we've been thinking about doing.
One thing I would recommend if you ever go and screen your film in a theater is like I have this rule. I always have two different spots I like to sit at, either the very front of the film so I can't see the people behind's reactions, or the very behind everybody, like the very last scene. So either very first or very last. I
Yeah,
don't
you
care.
don't
I'll
want to be
sit
in
up.
the middle.
Yeah, no, no, no. I don't want to hear what people are saying about it during the film. I just want to hear the cheers. I want to hear the boos. I want to hear those things as they're happening in real time. But you get two different perspectives from sitting from the front or the back, and it allows you, if you have this privilege, because sometimes, I mean, over the years, I've been able to do multiple screenings of films. I can sit back and relax and not relax,
Yeah.
stress, I should say, in the back of the theater, just seeing if everybody's getting it and watching expressions, or I can just sit in the front of the theater, not see anybody's expressions, but listen for the audio of people's views on the film throughout the film. Like, are they gasping? Are they shocked? Are they running out of the theater? Are they, all those fun things. So there's just so many different things you could do.
I agree. I think that's a good thing. I just watched The Room, you know,
What's his
the
name?
Tommy Wiseau movie.
Yeah, yeah,
And I watched it with Paul. We went up to see it at the Kimball Theater, and they're having like a film festival, and they invited Greg Sestero, who's like the lead star. He's Mark, from The
yeah,
Room, and he
yeah,
was there. And he was there to promote some stuff, and but he didn't sit with everybody, like, and I'm sure he's seen that movie like a million times, like, because
yeah,
he goes on tours and tours every year with that room, promoting the disaster artists and other stuff, and but anyway, he was in the back, like he was at the table where he's supposed to, sign stuff, waiting for people to, um, to be done. But he was like very interested in hearing, like he was like, wow, everybody seems to be really into it, and everything. And so many of them had never seen it,
yeah.
and were like room virgins, and and they were so young. They're all like college kids and stuff, and I loved seeing that because uh that to me is like, even though that's a terrible movie, and I'm sure Tommy Wiseau got like, well, this better kill, this guy should kill himself, things,
Yeah.
and I'm
I don't mean to
like,
laugh at that. I didn't.
well, well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Do you think Tommy Wiseau gives a fuck? You know what other people think, really?
No, but I think you'd give a fuck if somebody came up to him with a gun and
Right,
said,
right.
you know what I mean? You
Yeah,
know?
but like I don't, you're not getting that. You're not getting
Yeah.
some actually like sticking a gun in your face. So I think the lesson to be learned is like, there's degrees of like whatever. I mean, some people, you can make the greatest movie in the world. Like you can make, I'm gonna just say Citizen Kane just because that's like the most popular one to say, but you can make a Citizen Kane and somebody is gonna say that movie was so terrible that
Hmm.
I hope that filmmaker never made another movie. And and then you go, are you kidding me? Like that
That's
was
Orson Welles. I mean,
Orson
come on. He did
Welles,
War of the Worlds.
right? But people would still say that
Yeah.
because we live in a society right now that just allows anybody to say whatever the fuck they want, whatever the fuck they want to say it. We kind of allow that to happen, sort of, we don't, we
Well,
just,
free speech, right?
right. And,
You know?
you can always respond, I think, to those like letterboxed comments or something and be like, oh, thank you. I'll keep that in mind, when I make my next project.
Yeah.
I'll keep you in mind when I make my next project. I'll have a character named whatever, last name, whatever your screen name is there, and have him killed,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff. So there you go. I mean, it's beauty of being a writer is we're gonna get shit on all the
Well,
time.
if you get a chance to check out, I don't know if you've seen Fang or the Horrific Gila Monsters or
I
even a
think
Grim
so a while
miniseries.
ago, but I need to
Yeah,
rewatch
if
them.
you don't get it, if you haven't had a chance yet, get a chance to watch it. I'd love to hear you blast on Horrific Gila Monsters or something. I mean, talk highly of it, of course.
I don't know. I like it's weird. I've gotten to that point like because I was talking to some people about it and I was like, I don't even know if I want to like review other people's films like
Yeah,
on Indie Film Cafe that I know,
yeah.
because you
I can
know,
respect that.
I mean
Sure, I can
it's
respect that.
hard because like I might say something and then people get really offended and then they unfriend me or block me because and not that necessarily I wanted to work with them, but like I'm very much a person who doesn't, I'm a people pleaser, a
Yeah.
lot. And I kind of, you can't really be a people pleaser and make movies, you
Well, that's
know.
the truth.
That's
Um,
yeah, it's the damnedest because you understand you're not going to please everyone, you know.
right.
There'll be people
You
who
know
love
the
your films and people who don't.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And when you're making a film, one of the biggest things that I've always had trouble with, not trouble, is when you're making a film, you have a cast. I've always built my cast up. And I do that because you get more out of your actor if the actor is feeling like they have the power to tell the story that you want them to tell. And I look at, some of these films and people, like we mentioned earlier on, people don't know what goes into making these films, the egos you have to stroke to get a project completed. Now, I have a big ego, but some of these actors out there, their egos are even bigger. What
Mm.
somebody is only on a film one day, and now they become an actor for life. I mean, come on. I mean, you do one film as a background extra, and the next thing now you know everything about film, and now you
Now
want to
you're a
join the
scream
union.
queen and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
which
You know how many scream
I
queens are out there?
honestly hate that title, but I have Scream Queen Campfire, so I can't say anything. But like, uh,
Well, you
I
recognize it though.
I do, and
You recognize it.
I feel like to get to actually earn that title, you have to have at least done three horror films. Three, like that's my
Three.
thing. At
And
least
there
three.
has to be a little bit of an age with it, just a little bit. Not doesn't have to be crazy. Three films would be good, but maybe over the span of like your early 20s or something. Or yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like I mean, even kids can be scream queens, especially if they actually been in a bunch of movies that, you know what I mean? Um,
What is it?
but
Jenna Ortega? Who Jenna Ortega? She's new to like, I don't want to say she's new, but she is
yeah,
somebody that I would call a scream queen, even though she hasn't really done a lot of stuff in a short, but she's done stuff in a short period of time in the horror realm, and
she
that is what.
done two Scream movies and then the
And
You
then
show
Wednesday,
and
yeah,
Wednesday. So I mean, I don't know if Wednesday's necessarily horror, but it's got horror elements, so it could count, I guess. I mean, she's sort of, and she's about to do Beetlejuice too, by the way.
I heard that. Yeah,
Be like Lydia's daughter or something, which I'm
that would
like,
be interesting to see.
well, that would be interesting to see. It'd be funnier if Lydia is played by Christina Ricci, like as because I don't know if they would bring back what's her name? The original Lydia, Winona
Um,
Ryder. I don't know if
I
they would
hear,
bring her back. Are
I
they?
heard that they may be. I
Okay.
heard that she might be the daughter of her too, like you were just talking about.
So
The
yeah,
Winona
so
Ryder character.
that would be funny, but I think it would be funnier if it were Christina Ricci because, obviously the Wednesday thing there,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's because it doesn't really matter, if you want a younger, if you want a younger one, are they gonna explain why? I guess if you put Beetlejuice in the makeup, it won't it's just the makeup, or whatever. But like Michael Keaton's older. How do you explain a ghost getting older? You know,
yeah, yeah.
like
Well, maybe
do
they'll
ghosts get older when they die? Like,
maybe they'll do some movie magic with it or something, and
oh,
it'll be
don't tell me
amazing.
that because now it's giving me was it Billy Loomis vibes? Like,
Indiana Jones 5, man. Enjoy. Be
uh,
prepared. Be prepared because you're gonna see a lot of it.
oh
You're gonna see a
God,
lot of it.
I don't like it. I don't like it. This is it's scaring me, man. It's like, all
Did
right,
you
so
see the
that means
trailer?
no.
Oh
I mean,
yes, take a
I
watch.
did, I saw some of it, but I don't, I saw like the first trailer. I'm
Yeah,
trying not to watch the trailers for stuff because
yeah,
it's ruining the movies. They do it in indie films too. They ruin their own movies, and I'm like, don't put so much fucking shit in the trailers.
yeah.
We don't need to see the whole story in 2 minutes.
Right.
You just show the beginning of it.
I have heard that a lot about filmmakers these days. That they are not they're just putting too much into their films in the sense of like trailers. I remember when I released the first Horrific Guild Monsters trailer, one of the complaints were that it was too long. And the reason why it was too long is because it gave too much of the story away. So we went back to the editing room, I recut a new trailer, and that is the trailer we use from now on. But that's out there. If you watch it, you'll know exactly what I mean by it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. If anybody watches that horrific trailer, horrific, wow, that
Well,
sounds terrible. Horrific
yeah,
monsters trailer, but like horrific trailer.
yeah,
Um,
we get you.
yeah. So if you check that out, go ahead. Um, so what else have you been up to? So you're at the new Ombus movie.
Yes.
Are you doing anything else?
I'm working on a book actually.
Nice.
Um, who knows when that will be ever made, but I've been working on that for a couple of years. Then I'm going to produce at some point, or co-produce, I should say, a documentary on my filmmaking career.
Oh,
One
very
of the
cool.
Yeah, one of the things that I have done for many years is I've kept a lot of footage, behind the scenes footage that no one has seen from all my films. So I'm going to eventually release that in a feature film in some fashion. And I'm excited about that. It gives a little bit more history about me and the characters and the stories and the universe of horror films I've been trying to tell with inside this gore verse is what we call it. And yeah, that is going to probably be one of my retirement projects.
Nice.
And I'm just going to continue to be a big supporter of the film industry, do marketing on previous titles, things of that nature. But that is where my career is looking. So I'm looking probably when I get to my early 40s to be on a path to either the final film or, on the path to a temporary hiatus. And then whatever happens from there on out, either if I make another one or I don't. That's where I lie.
So you're sort of pulling a Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, I noticed he just what is it? He just kind of announced recently that he may be, or somebody said that he filed something for his final film.
Yep. It's
And
called The Movie Critic or something like that.
and you
Which
have to ask yourself, as a director, as a storyteller, when is enough enough? And when have you done the film? Like, what film should you end on? And for me, I just don't feel that I should be ending on a Grimm miniseries as my last project. And because Ombus was so well received and has such a huge fan base, the most popular film ever made, next to Prisoners of the Dead. Um, and I say, you know what, this might be a good opportunity to explore that last project, and tell that story, and maybe go out on a high note. Who knows? Maybe I'll go out on a high note with it.
I was just thinking Tarantino's last film should have been a Tarantino multiverse movie. Where he just has all the characters from all his different movies come back and they all have to meet up and have one
Well,
last
do
little.
you remember? I don't know if you know this, but Zorro and uh, Django were
Mhm.
supposed to do a film together.
And then they were gonna do like a comic or something, or they did a
Yeah,
comic for it or whatever
I actually just bought The
instead.
Mask of Zorro. I love that movie.
Was that the Antonio Banderas one?
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
there's two of them. There's that one and then The Legend of Zorro, which I think I want to get next. But yeah, I just picked it up in a steelbook from Best Buy and it's so good.
It's so funny that Banderas has done both Mask of Zorro and Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
do
his
you,
his his filmography is interesting because he has a wide range. The Mexican, wasn't it? Wasn't he in that one? Um,
yeah, and then the Desperado and
Desperado. Yeah, that's the one I actually meant was that one.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico
Once Upon a
also.
Time. Yeah. So, he has a wide range. Then he did Spy Kids. Didn't he do Spy Kids?
Yeah,
Am I
and he was also in the Four Rooms.
Four Rooms, classic movie. That is a great film, by the way. I own that film.
It was fun. I think
Oh, you don't like it?
I don't hate it, but I like the Tarantino skit and the Rodriguez skit. The other two skits don't really do anything for me.
Oh,
And
the which one is the one with the bed? The hooker in the bed.
oh, that's Rodriguez.
Yes, I love that. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, that was my favorite one too. Then Tarantino had one where it's like,
Cuts
uh,
the finger off.
yeah, cuts the finger off, and it's like Hollywood-ish, and
Yeah.
you can just tell the dialogue is so Tarantino. But the other ones are like there's like a witches one, that I'm like, oh, like this just felt. I think like
Yeah, I didn't like that one.
I
With
think
the
Allison
cauldron and
Anders
stuff.
did it, and what?
With the cauldron and the
Yeah,
naked chick and she comes out of it. Yeah.
and then there's one other one where I see that's why I don't like it because I just totally it's totally
Oh,
forgettable.
I know what it was. I know what it was. It was the guy with the girlfriend. It was the guy with the girlfriend with the gun, and he accidentally paged into or plugged into the wrong room and all that, and he
Oh,
goes up
okay,
there to deliver something, and he's got a gun, and his wife is all tied up, and they're like
that's
having
it.
like a
Yeah,
sex
I
fetish or
don't
something.
didn't like it, but
Yeah, it was all right.
it's funny because like I mean, 2 out of 4 ain't bad,
Yeah.
but it's funny because those are the two last ones I believe, and so you have to sit through the first two, and the
Well,
first one had the witch one had the chick from that I like from fuck, what's that movie or was that show it wasn't it was Sybil, Sybil's daughter or whatever in it. I think it was Sybil. The girl, the red hair girl,
yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't picture what film it is that she's done though.
Alicia Witt.
Okay,
She's been in
yeah.
a shit ton of movies. She was in Vanilla Sky, Urban Legend. She was the lead in Urban Legend. She was in Dune, the David Lynch one,
Mhm.
bunch of stuff. So I love her. I adore her. I
Wasn't
think
she
she's
in
great.
wasn't she in Hot Pursuit or Hot Shots rather? Wasn't she in Hot Shots also?
Hmm,
I think it's
I
the same girl I'm thinking of.
I don't know. Maybe. I wouldn't. It might be Hot Shots Part Two.
Yeah, part deluxe or ducks or what?
Yeah,
Yeah. What did you say it was called?
it's
Part
Part
two?
Two. Two.
Yeah. You
Um,
like those films? No?
Yeah, I think they're okay. They're
Yeah.
not they're just silly. No, she wasn't in that one. She wasn't in those. I'm trying to think of who, let's see, Four Rooms, who you might be thinking of, because I'm sure there's somebody who was in um the missing ingredient. It was called The Missing Ingredient was the thing. Madonna was in it. I didn't even know that. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. I
I
remember
forgot.
that. In that segment she was actually in.
Yeah. Um, let's see. She was Lily Taylor from The Conjuring was in it. Jesus. That's a great cast. Ione Skye from Say Anything, you know. She was in that segment, you know. Like that's a
Hmm.
great cast of women, but like
The story lacked a lot. Yeah.
yeah, it just was not interesting to me. Which kind of sucks for a short because, like a short, you need something to grab you, you know,
Yeah.
in like
I,
a
you,
short
you
amount
know,
of time.
yeah. And that's funny you say that because everybody seems to be wanting to get into that grungy horror again. A lot of the like people that I talk to, interest parties, when I look at horror forums and stuff, because I look and research this shit all day long, and I want to make a film for the market. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, that's a smart way to look at it.
And I look at the forums and I see what people are talking about. Science fiction's always hot. Zombies are always hot. And then I started thinking, we're talking about the end of the career that I've been kind of trying to chart out my final stories. I look at a Fang sequel too, possibly. I don't want to be known for just sequels, but out of the films that I really adored, those are the two that I loved. And to do a Fang sequel with the really grungy, disgusting horror again to push the bars, that would be kind of fun. I would like to do something
Yeah,
like that.
you should do that.
Yeah, I we'll
See, you
see.
keep saying things that are going to make you keep making more movies. So
People say
don't
that.
worry. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People say that. People say you always be, you just say that right now. But I'm getting to a point where I think it I think I'm getting to the end, man. I really do as
But
the
you
director.
said you made 16 films, though, right?
I either produced, I've directed like 10 feature films. Yes. This will be my 11th, Ambas.
Can't end
So,
on 11th, though, by the way. You can't, you know, that's
oh,
just,
is this a wrong number?
well, I mean,
Odd
it's
number?
just, to me, I hate odd numbers. Personally.
So I got to
The
go
only odd
12.
numbers I'm okay with are like 15, where it's got like five till you're there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why I'm okay with 15, but I'm not okay with like 17, you know? Like, I would hate that, you know? And my
Yeah.
friends all laugh at me. I'm very much, if I have the choice between an odd number and an even number, even if the even number is lower, I will go lower, just because I don't like odd numbers. I'm weird, I think
Hey, you
everything
know
to be
what?
even.
That's okay. That's okay. Maybe you'll have to inspire me to do number 12 in a couple of years.
Right. Well, that's why I'm so glad that Tarantino's ending it on his 10th, you
Mm.
know? I'm like, if
Nice
you
round
ended it
number.
on your ninth, I'd be so annoyed. You'd be like, no, I would write to Tarantino. I'd be like, Tarantino, you must do this. And he'll be like, who the fuck are you? And then go
Well,
back.
just to kind of conclude on the Grimm miniseries thing, just real brief, my wife created that. So I kind of like
Nice.
we were talking about doing outsourcing of things, masks and prosthetics and stories. She came to me, pitched this idea, and I just sprinkled in a little bit of the Grim Reaper, and she did everything. She wrote everything, and I
Good.
produced and directed it. So you could see again getting to a point where I'm I'm doing something, but it's not me spending hours writing a story or whatever. It's me working on it, of course, but I
I
don't
had
know.
a I had a moment back in 2010, so it was a long time ago. 13
Hmm.
years ago, Jesus. Where I was like this close to just quitting the industry, you know. And it wasn't because of people or Facebook. It was because of how stressful, making your movie is, It's
Oh God,
people
people
don't
don't know.
people don't realize this.
No.
People think like you just say this and then put it out and then it's done. and it's it's a lot more work. But I was so burnt out and I was tired, and I was talking to an actress, and I was like, I think I'm gonna quit producing and directing movies.
Hmm.
And she looked at me, she goes, well, what are you gonna do? I go, maybe just write, you know? Like, because
Right.
writing, man, like that's what I want to be right now. I just want to be a writer. Because
Yeah.
um honestly, I'm writing right now and I have never had the best time of my life, than I am when I'm just sitting at my computer by myself, typing shit out late
Right.
at night, having a blast. Like that is my happy place. Um, and maybe it'll get stressful when I'm doing rewrites and I have to have a deadline or something like that. Because right now there's
Right.
no deadline. I can do what the fuck I want.
Well,
But
that's good, man. That's good for
yeah,
you that you have that ability too. That's really good.
but here's the thing, I miss being on sets, and I'm so glad I never quit. I never did. I
I
didn't because I loved it, you know?
I would always go to somebody's sets, but some people get intimidated very easily about or with me when I go on their sets. I have a certain procedure of how I handle things. I'm very contract oriented. I'm budget oriented. I am schedule. That's the biggest thing, schedule oriented, because no one's time is more important than my time. You know what I mean? And that goes for
Hmm.
you too. No one's more important than your time.
That
So
should be
when I
everybody. Like everybody
right,
should feel that way about themselves.
right. So if you're coming to my set, we're gonna have a good time, but we're gonna be in and out. We're not here to joke around all day. I
Hmm.
can't do those 24-hour shoots no more. I'm not a young man anymore.
Mm-mm.
I have
No,
a
I get
rule
that.
now. I have a rule now that I have to be off set 12 hours. It's union standards, and I adapted it. We have to be off 12 sets, 12 hours, and then you come back. That's the minimum that you'd have to be off set. So I adapted that policy so that you can rest, rejuvenate. I try to shoot for 8-hour days. Sometimes I'm not lucky with it, but I won't go past 10 or 12 is generally the rule.
Oh yeah. We had one shoot that just kept going and shit, and the actress that we had, I'm not gonna say her name or anything, just don't want to call her
Yeah.
out on this because this was my mistake, and I didn't realize this, and this might be very helpful for indie filmmakers to understand. When you have a lead actress or actor or somebody who you are having from out of town,
Mm-hmm.
you need to get them done first. You
Yes.
know,
Same with
you can,
extras. Same
yeah,
with
you can
extras.
always bring another actor who's local back, but you cannot keep an actor or actress waiting. And I
Yeah.
did that as a mistake, uh, because we wanted to get one guy done in one day so that he didn't have to drive 2 hours to come back like the next day or something, right? Which, you know, the whole idea is like then we lost a lot of work that we had to make up the next day with that
Mm-hmm.
actress, and she couldn't do her stuff. She had to go to bed. Like she
Mm-hmm.
was like at that time she had to work in the morning and like she was
Right.
doing zooming and stuff. So she had a freak out like thing moment where she was really upset, and I pulled her to the side, because I didn't want to say all this stuff in front of everybody. And I said, "What's going on? Why are you?" And she was telling me she was really mad that I'm wasting a lot of her time here when we need to get this done, and
Yeah.
stuff, and we need to get her stuff done, and everything. And I said, I totally understand, and I know you're tired right now, and I know you can't do it, so just go to bed. We'll shoot around you tonight. I'll have you come back and or tomorrow we'll get all the rest of your stuff. And it'll be all you tomorrow, and
Yeah.
stuff. And she was really happy about that and but I mean, it's a learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I was looking back today, earlier today rather, and I said, I've only had one film, picture, however you want to say it, that I ever announced that I actually had to cancel. We were, a film called Meet the Loonies. I posted about this earlier today. It's the only film out of my filmmaking career that I announced but never made. And then publicly had to retract and say we ended up canceling the film. That was for many reasons, but it goes back to partly ego, not mine specifically, but one of the lead actors had a money money ego trip. Even after offering thousands, they still wanted more. And I said, you know what? The project's not worth that. You're not worth that. And I ended up pulling the plug. But that was a very hard time for me because I was going through a lawsuit over Ombus to try to get the rights back to it. And so I had to make a decision because I was also directing in post production Star. So I had like three big things going on. I said, you know what? We're going to cut the loonies, use that budget that I got left over or had left over to finish Star. And I actually provided Star to another editor and worked on this lawsuit to get the rights back to the film. And I'm glad I did. But, you know, Star suffered as a result of that film, or excuse me, as a result of all that. And the loonies, I don't think I'll ever work with that actor again because they put such a poor taste in my mouth. So,
Well, I mean, if you did you like the story from the Loonies?
yes. And I ended up taking a lot of elements of the story of the Loonies and putting it into Fang.
Okay, that's what I was going
So,
to suggest. If you,
yeah,
you know,
it
if
lived
you
on.
not necessarily want to redo it again, but like do something similar to it or whatever. So that
Yeah.
works, you
Yeah,
know.
it worked out. But at the same time, I mean, it was just the level of disrespect an actor could give to somebody that specifically wrote a film for them, you know, and
Hmm.
it wasn't the context until it became the context because they were looking for excuses probably to get out of it, which I don't understand, especially with the amount of money they were being offered. So, whatever, water underneath the bridge. But I was just thinking about that today. You know, so
Yeah, it happens. There's always a lot of ego, but there's a lot of ego and working at Walmart,
yeah,
like, you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like there's,
yeah,
I worked at Walmart and I dealt with a lot of ego and shit and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you work at Walmart, man.
yeah,
Like you're not curing cancer right now. So like,
right,
don't take life too seriously. You know, um, but then again, it's a job, you
yeah,
know, and some people do take their job, very seriously,
right,
or whatever.
right.
And some people might take it way too seriously and might not.
Well, this actor that I'm thinking of right now did it very disrespectfully, very disrespectfully. They kept demanding more money, and I would keep finding them more money. Then they would say, "I don't like this in the script," after already telling me
Oh,
like. So
Jesus.
I was to the point where, you know what? Who are
You're
you?
you're just
I
done.
Yeah, I said, "Who are you? I don't care what type of name you have. You're not. You know this isn't your film. It's my film, and if you're going to degrade it like that, then I don't want you in it." So
Yep.
that relationship has been ever forever tarnished, unfortunately.
Well, sadly that happens a lot in this industry.
Maybe he can
And
start off with an apology. That would be a good start for him.
yeah, well, even then, I don't know if it's worth it. Sometimes
It isn't.
I think the thing is, here's the biggest thing I learned, and I don't know if this is how you feel or whatever, but it's not called show friends. It's called show
Right.
business.
Show
And a lot of
business.
times when you get involved with people, it becomes a friend thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm working with you, you're my friend, let's work together. Bad things might happen, or whatever,
Most times they
because
do.
yeah, most times they do. And then you have to pull business over friendship and they don't like it, so you guys cut ties as friends. And that
Right.
sucks, but in the same sense, you just can't let that, because I have a lot of people that I've worked with in some way or another that have now don't like me, because of one thing or another that happened
Yeah.
in our business deals and
Yeah.
stuff. And in the beginning, once again, people pleaser in me is like, oh my God, why do these people not like me? This is terrible. What can I do
Right.
about it? And now I'm
Right.
like, I don't give a fuck. You don't
Yeah,
like
I'm to
me?
that point too, right?
Yeah, if you don't like
Very
me,
right.
it's fine. I mean, I can't be loved by everybody. There are people I still love, and if they didn't like me, I'd be sad. But
Oh yeah,
after a
of
while,
course.
I'm gonna have to like be like, I just don't care anymore, after a while, because unless I can bring that relationship back. I can't, you know. Um,
I
but
know that feeling because I've invested in actors and actresses, two that I can think of specifically that I like went all in on. I advertised them, I worked with them, I developed a career. One of them even went to college for the art of film and acting as a result. And these people are now better than me, or better than working with me, or I don't know how you want to say it. They're above working with me, not
yeah,
because they've achieved something, but because they, I guess, were wronged in some way, or we're not doing union related projects, or what. I mean, whatever the issue might be. But I know that feeling of feeling like you have a lot of, like, I know a lot of people. I'm sure you know a lot of people too. I've been on sets where there's a couple hundred to almost 1,000 people before, and I've been on sets that were like 3 or 4 people. So, I understand camaraderie. I understand creativity, but I also understand the business now. I didn't in the beginning. Like you were saying, people pleaser. That was me. I would sell my soul to get a film made. Now I'm not so hasty, if you will, to go out and do that.
you're more hesitant,
Very much so. Oh yeah.
and that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you have to get to a point in your career where you're just willing to understand that, like, I'm gonna have to sacrifice friendships that maybe aren't, some of them, if I looked back at some of these friendships, they were very toxic.
Yes.
And I didn't think of them as toxic. I
Yeah, you
thought of
didn't
them,
realize in the time. You were too much in the moment.
right,
Right.
and things like that. But sometimes it's really great that like the world works out the way it's supposed to, you know.
I'm getting to
I
that perception as well.
I've introduced people to other people, and then they've left me for that person.
Yes. I've done
And
that
so
too.
gave me a lot of abandonment issues, fear of
Yes.
abandonment issues and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's fine because now I've sort of accepted the fact that, you know what, I'm sort of doing a service to these people because if they want to fuck me over to work together, then they deserve each other, kind of
Yeah.
thing, and that feeling and stuff. And I mean, and wonderful, some of them have gone on to create amazing film projects that I
Yeah.
will forever tell them, to their face, like these were good. Some that made things that like,
Why'd you make this? You went from me to this? Yeah.
yeah, but then still, like they
Yeah.
continue to work. So, I mean, you probably know some of them, and
Well,
stuff.
we do have a lot of cross. We
Yeah,
do have a
we
lot
have
of
a lot of
cross.
mutuals,
Yeah.
which wonderful. Um, but I don't hate, like, look, if you're out there making an indie film, fucking good for you, you know.
Right.
If you break out from indie and go Hollywood,
Yeah.
that's even better. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna be like one of those people that are bitter and yelling at like, why do they get to go do that?
Right.
I'm like, they worked their ass off. They got where they're at. That's that's the thing. So I'm okay with it. But is there anything else you wanted to kind of let people know about? Is there
Well,
projects, any stuff?
not specifically projects. No. I just want to say thank you for giving me some time to speak. I know we've been talking
Chatting
for a
for a
bit.
while. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and
more
like I
longer than we
told
were
you,
planning to,
I
but
told you
it's
you had to stop me. You had to stop me.
you have to stop me too. I talked way too much.
And I would
Um,
love to do this again if you ever are interested in talking again. There's just so much we can continue on with, more
sure.
updates. I'm sure we can get with the nonsensical DC universe. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
that could be an old
its
podcast in
own show.
itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I was gonna let people know, like, they can watch a lot of your movies on Tubi, so
yes.
they should go
We're
do
on
that right now.
Yeah, we're on every streaming platform in some fashion, either
Well,
Vudu, iTunes, Google
Plex,
Play. We're on everything. Tubi is we love Tubi. We've made a good relationship with Tubi. Yeah, I would definitely recommend checking some of the films out because they're good
there you go.
or they're bad, and you should shoot the director.
Stop that. Like, you keep
Sorry.
bringing it up. You're really, I think you feel terrible about that. That's sad because
That comment really hurt me. That comment really
I
hurt me.
know, but like it shouldn't. And then I
Oh, I
like
know. I don't even know who it was. I don't even know the person. I don't
I
know
know
who it
you probably
was.
don't
I
even
can't
remember the
find it now.
name, you
Right.
know?
Just the thought,
And
though, that people want that is hard to swallow, you know?
but anybody can say whatever the fuck they want on the internet, and most of the time they don't really even feel that way. You know what I mean? They're just
Right.
in a bad mood and they you caught them on a bad day and they watched your movie and they were like, I don't like this movie, blah blah blah. I'm gonna
And
say
they don't
my
like the
piece.
director.
I don't like the director, blah 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 blah. But I'm like, you keep watching his movies.
Yeah.
Like, if this person is so bent out of shape that he doesn't like your films and he's still watching them,
That says something about
that
him.
says something. That says
Yes,
that
it does.
it says something more. So
Yeah.
just hang in there, man, because that person likes your shit. He's a fan.
Yeah, he definitely
Only
is.
fans continue to watch the films and watch. If he listens to this, if you're out there and you said that nasty ass comment, you're still watching his movies, that's on you, bro. You know, that's completely on you and you fucked up.
Yep.
So,
Big time.
if he's gonna keep making them because I mean, they're not easy to make, but they're definitely not easy, but they are something you're passionate about. So don't stop because some douchebag saying it. Now, if he said, I know where you live or, something like that, I'd be a little bit more worried. Like once again, go back to Siskel and Ebert saying,
Yeah.
here's the address of somebody. That's a little bit
Well,
sketchy
that's
on
a little,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
So
well, anyways, my friend, it's always great to speak with you. You know that I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders and fans. You know what
thanks.
I'm saying?
Thanks. You're the only one. That's okay.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Uh,
Um,
it was a pleasure talking with you, dude, because like you and me, we both have sort of similar,
yeah.
feelings and similar stuff. And I mean, you said you've been doing this since what,
I've
2010, maybe
been I've
earlier?
been doing it on and off since 2003, but I took it serious in 2008.
Yeah. See, same here. Well, I mean, I did the short film stuff,
Yeah,
in 2002, and then I started Independent Corner to sort of get, understanding of what it took to make a indie film,
right,
or whatever and
right.
stuff and try to get advice. I don't know if I listened necessarily. If I
Well,
did, I would have
that's how
probably
you learn is you don't listen and then you
you
make the
don't listen, then
mistakes.
you make all the fucking mistakes, and
Yeah,
then you go, oh, okay. And then I re-listen and I go, I should have done that.
yeah.
Well, there you go. I think the best film schools are commentary tracks. That's my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. I love doing commentary tracks too. Like you watch a film. Uh
Yeah.
yeah.
I like
We'll
try
have to
I
do
mean I
that
did
sometime.
mine and I was trying to figure out what like technical shit to put in it because I didn't want a commentary track where I was like, we did this and that person did that and that, you know what I mean? Like, and that happened in that, thing.
The key is to have more than one person in it. Don't just do it on yourself, you know.
Well,
Have a
actually, I
cast member
like
or
ones that
so.
are by themselves, but I don't like
Oh,
talking by
yeah.
myself. But I
No?
like there's Brett Kelly, wonderful director from Canada, who made a movie called The Feral Man, and it's got one of the best commentary tracks. And it's just him on the commentary track talking about how he made his first film. It's
Yeah.
fucking amazing. Like
You know what's also interesting is our paths seem to have not only aligned in some fashion throughout the years, but our progression in the arts seem to have coincided simultaneously. You know what I mean?
mhm.
You were doing the same things
Well, you've
in a
made more
different light.
features than I have,
Yeah.
'cause I haven't
Yeah, I've
really
done
made
more
any.
features, but you've done more podcasts than I have. You've talked to more people. You've done films. Short films can count.
Yeah, and
Um,
I mean, I made a feature of Scary Story Slumber Party out of short films, but
so there you go.
yeah. So it's almost like and it gets annoying because I'm like, I want you to review it. Oh, I don't review anthologies. What?
Yeah. Well, come on
Yeah.
now. Come on.
I mean, I get it because it's hard to kind of you have to rate them, by each individual movie instead of like all together necessarily, you know? So
Eh,
I get it. But it's
well,
just like it's frustrating because I'm like, it's better than like it should be better. I mean, I don't know, I like it. You know,
yeah.
I'm a little biased, but I
You're a
like
little
it
biased. Yeah, I was gonna say you're just a little bit biased. A
a
little
little bit.
biased.
But it's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
But
And
yeah,
it's
I
just
mean,
the same as I'm sure you'll say your movies are great, you know,
well, there's
because
some I
you
would
put a lot of
there's one I would say is not so great, but we'll say that for a different podcast.
all right.
Let you figure that one out.
I don't even want to think about that
Good,
because, you know,
good, good,
let's
good,
just
good.
say you enjoyed all the work that you've done.
Yes,
So,
I love everything I do.
yes.
It's I praise the sand that I walk on. Well, dude, it's good to talk to you, and I hope we do this again soon.
Yeah, we'll do this again. Maybe I'll get you on Indie Film Cafe as a guest reviewer, and then you can
Oh,
take shots at yeah, at stuff. You know,
professional shots.
yes,
Constructive.
constructive
Yes,
criticism.
constructive. Yeah.
Because yeah, just like you, I'm kind of sick of people not being constructive. And we try to be constructive when we do stuff
Hmm.
because we're not there going, well, this sucks, and that's it. You know,
Yeah.
like that's not. We
Yeah.
try to tell them why we think these aren't good, and it's usually based on sound or
Right.
people are like
Right.
people are like, well, difficulty is to get sound. I'm like, it's then if you can't get good sound for a movie, then don't make a movie.
Yeah,
Like that sounds
that is a good
terrible,
rule.
but
That's a good rule.
yeah, if you can't get good sound, if you can't get good lighting, and you're using that excuse as, well, I it's too expensive to do that, then I'm like, then don't do it
Right.
because like people are paying to see a movie. They want to see and hear the movie, you know?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what I can clearly say. Everything I've seen of yours, you can hear what people are saying, you can see what they're doing. And I mean, some of the acting might be, low budget, actors and stuff
Yeah.
acting, but like that's what you're going to see. If somebody's going and thinking they're saying, the next Dawn of the Dead,
Hmm.
that's completely different, then they should be warned ahead of time. This is a low budget film with no, with a no budget cast, or whatever. So,
Right. Right.
well, thank you so much, Adam. It was a pleasure having you on the show. And like I said, you're welcome back. And we would love to have you as a guest reviewer at some point. Because
Yeah, let's talk about that. I'd love to be a part of it.
definitely. And everybody else, join me in 2 weeks. I'll have Amber Doig Thorne on the show. So you'll
I
check
look
her
forward
out.
to that one.
She's the she got to go face to face with toe to toe with fucking Piglet,
Mm.
and Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. Whew. All right. Well, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Until then, have a good one. Bye.